Fan2Fan Detroit is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
This is Rick Mahorn. Listen to Fan2Fan Detroit on the Planet Ant Podcast Network.
Welcome in, everybody, to episode 9 of Fan2Fan Detroit. I'm your host, Andrew Norris. This is my producer, Double P producer, Parker. Before we get into anything, I want to let everybody know we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties. Wi-Fi just kind of bugging out. So we're going to try to get through this with as little issue as possible. But just kind of stick with us. But Parker, what's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing the best I can. I'm very tired of how long my hair is. I'm very tired of this beard. I am very depressed, but, I'm working through it. We're here to talk about sport and doing the best I can.
I think depressed is like the natural state of mind in the world right now. I just don't think we can escape it. And by the way, the hair I get, you can take care of the beard. I know it's a playoff beard. You're persevering through it.
I refuse to admit defeat. But like you said, yes, we are both having some very strange internet problems. So we have some stuff lined up. If one of us maybe literally or metaphorically shits the bed, that's another thing too, is there's a chance that there might be a random poop interruption in the middle of the show. But we're just going to keep playing, baby. We're just going to play through it, and we're here for you, the listeners at home. I hope that you're all depressed with me together as one group of people.
I respect and appreciate that. But the fun things he was talking about that we have coming for the show today, we have the full 16-game Lions schedule predictions from your favorite Detroit Lions homers, Parker and Andrew. We have Bundesliga is back soon. Parker's going to dive deep into that, let you know exactly what's going on.
I'm going to dive medium into that. I'm going to go into the 8-foot pool, not the 16-foot pool.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And then after that, we're going to wrap it up with some Tigers prospect and Tigers draft talk. So if you're kind of trying to get a feel on who they are, where they're going to be, like if we had a full minor league system, if not, where are they going to be, and who could we be looking at with the number 1 pick in the newly 5-round MLB draft for this year. But I say we get right into the schedule because I'm super excited about this. Yeah. Week 1. At home versus the Chicago Bears. So there's a couple things to talk about here first and here's the whole schedule for you, before we really dive into who's going to win or lose. But I think the first thing on everybody's mind is who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears in week 1? Is it Nick Foles? Is it Mitch Trubisky? What do you think on that?
I think it could be either. And the reason why I think that is because they're playing the Lions, and Mitch Trubisky really enjoys playing against the Lions. And I'm guessing that has a lot to do with the style of defense we play. There's not a lot of pressure on the quarterback typically, or at least there wasn't last year or the year before. So I actually think that Foles will not start week 1. I think it could be Trubisky, but I think that going forward, Foles will be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's really going to depend on how Nagy sees that defense going into the season, because I think if he sees them as an elite defense, as a team that's going to be top 3, top 4 total yardage, points allowed, all those things come season time, then it's going to be Mitch, because I think you still took that guy super early. You got, he still has shown signs. We've seen great Mitch Trubisky games, and that's coming from a guy who's as low on Mitch Trubisky as anybody. But we've seen him throw 6 touchdowns in a game. We've seen him beat some good teams. Mm-hmm. 1 out of every 4 throws from that guy, you're like, wow, that's what people saw. It's that throw. It's the zip on the ball. It's the placement. But then those other 4 out of 5 throws, he's just not there. So I'm going to say it's Nick Foles. I think that Nagy's going to go into the season with the mindset of we have a chance to make the playoffs and do some damage with this defense plus what we have on offense, but the offense has to at least be good enough. Yeah. And I think Foles gets you to good enough. People love to forget, people remember his Super Bowl season, but people love to forget his 27 touchdown, 3 interception season. the greatest touchdown to interception ratio of all time. I bring it up all the time because I'm a big Nick Foles defender.
I roll my eyes at it because I think it's a dumb statistic.
It's a great statistic. He was awesome. He's been awesome like 40% of his career. So if you get that guy,
he's Sam Bradford.
He's much better than Sam Bradford. Bradford can't throw the ball 30 yards.
Okay, real quick. The line for week 1 is out as well. The line for the game. It's home at Ford Field, whatever that's going to mean. So the Lions by 1.5. They were favored by 1.5. That's the line right now.
So you said,
I want to say that I think that you got to be careful with that line because home field advantage isn't going to be what it's been.
Right, and that was something I hadn't thought about until you brought it up yesterday. So typically, home field advantage gets you 3 points, right? That's get you 3 points wherever you go. And I think you got it right. I think this year it's just 1.5. There's nobody in the crowds, but you're still not sleeping in your bed. You're still not with your family, the day before you come to the game. There's still a lot of different things that happen on the road. You're just not as comfortable. It's just not the same environment you're used to. So I think 1.5 is probably fair from Vegas. So the Lions have lost 4 in a row to the Bears.
Yeah.
But previous to that, they won 8 out of the previous 9. Mm-hmm. They were 10-10 over the last decade. They're home. Matt Stafford's going to be healthy. We got all these new pieces. Mm-hmm. I got the Lions by like double digits in this game.
I like Lions by 7. I think it's going to be close. I think the Bears just play the Lions well, man. I just think that like Trubisky plays well against them. Nagy seems like a competent head coach against them. Some about their offensive scheme, Patricia hasn't really figured it out yet, it feels like. Obviously, that 0-4 is 2 years ago. So,
yeah, Nagy just kind of owns Patricia. He just owns him.
Kind of. But I like that as a W. That's a big W for me, 1 W.
So just a Bears question. We both got him as a win. Mm-hmm. What would the Bears record have to be next year for Nagy to not come back? Less than like 6 wins or less, right? Anything above that, he's probably
7 wins or less. I think that's 7 wins. I think that the Bears have they're a really good candidate for a locker room that falls apart halfway through the year this year. I just think it just seems precarious going into the year. And you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got 10 tight ends, you've got not enough receivers, and a really good defense that's going to get sick and tired of being really good with a bad offense.
Yeah, and I think Nagy will get a job like right away. I think Nagy's a good coach. I think this beginning part of this Bears run has just been hindered by the fact that he's had Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. And honestly, you can be okay if you have a great defense in Mitch Trubisky, but you're not going to be much better. You're just not.
Yeah.
Also, hashtag Chase Daniels is a spy. He's got their whole playbook. He's coming over. That's how we're going to.
I guess I like that like the Lions this
Daniels year is the guy. He's coming over all week. Parker with me.
Yeah, you're here. You were gone and then you're here.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I thought I got sent off. There's those technical difficulties we were talking about. All right, week 2. We have the at Lambeau, which is fantastic because we don't have to play in the freezing cold, the negative degree frozen tundra of Lambeau in December.
That's a weather assumption, and I don't like it.
I think it's a pretty fair weather assumption to say it's not going to be negative 20 degrees in September.
Well, that's 1, assuming it's going to be played in September, and 2, that's assuming that it doesn't snow in Green Bay in December, which it can do because it snows in Grand Rapids.
It can be cold. I mean, shit, it snowed here 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And it's May. So the Lions have lost the last 2 versus the Packers after finally getting the losing at Lambeau every year off their back, all that. They won the previous 4 before that. This has really been throughout Matt Stafford's career. This has been the one matchup where he's either going to excel your expectations by a mile or he's just going to kind of shit the bed. And there's no really middle ground when it comes to Stafford versus the Packers. We also have things like this year. It was pretty obvious Aaron Rodgers took a step back, a pretty large step back.
He was better in the back of the season. In the last 6 weeks, when they finally had some things figured out, and it was finally the Aaron Jones show, they looked a lot better. But of course, then they went out and drafted a running back in the second round anyway. I don't think the Packers are any better this year, and I think that this is the closest thing you're going to have to a good chance to win in Lambeau. And I think that if the Lions are a playoff team, and I think you and I both agree that they're a fringe playoff team, and that should be the goal, that they have to win this game. I'm going to give the Lions this win too.
You're giving them the win. Oh, I like it. I gotta give them the loss. I can't pull myself to give them the win in Lambeau. No matter the time of year, it's still Aaron Rodgers. And are we forgetting about the officials? Like the officials still exist.
I think that the officials will be nullified by the lack of crowd.
That actually makes sense. I haven't thought about that either. The fact that they don't have to worry about getting cups thrown onto the field and getting booed off the field and death threats as they walk back up into the locker room.
Illegal blocking maneuvers.
All right, so that's convinced me a little bit, but I'm still going to give them the loss. I think it's like a 3, it's going to be another one of those games where we have the lead, just like this year. We have the lead the entire time. And then at the last second, Mason Crosby is going to walk onto the field. He's going to hit a 52-yarder after we just allowed like a 17-yard run that they shouldn't have even ran. And it's just going to be something silly like it is every year we go to Lambeau. So I got them 1-1. You have them 2-0.
So I think that game is going to happen against the Packers, but I think it's going to happen in Week 14. Because I agree with you that.
So is your thought they're going to take the first 4 weeks? So do you think they're going to take the first 4 weeks if it gets, if all the coronavirus stuff keeps, goes into September, they're going to take the first 4 weeks, move it to the end, or do you think they'll just eliminate those games?
Oh, I think they'll move it to the end. This is the NFL we're talking about, dude. They're playing 6 games.
Yeah, that's kind of those owners don't care. And again, if they want an easy solution, you guarantee the money for this season. And everybody will play as much as you want them to. But that's a different discussion. Very different. We wins the team past couple of years. A lot of people don't play Cardinals and Newcomers really like this team. What are your thoughts on this team?
Why don't you go ahead and give me those last 3 sentences again?
Yeah. Added Isaiah Simmons. Kyler Murray is in year 2 now. Cliff Kingsbury's in year 2. Nuke Hopkins is obviously there. I am bought in on this Cardinals team, but I just don't know if it's going to all come together super early in the season, which is why I think the Lions have an advantage here. Again, I'm sick. I'm so sick of going to Arizona to play there, though. I'm so sick of it. We do it every year.
Well, we play that whole
every year,
right?
I think it's every other year, but
we're in the same
somehow,
right? Am I right about
that?
We've.
I'm sorry.
Are the Cardinals in the Saints division?
No, they're in the West. They're with the Niners.
Yeah, they're on the other side.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They just I looked at it. There's 2 years. I think it was 15 and 16 that they came here, but every other year we play the Cardinals. And as far as the NFL schedule goes, I don't think that makes a whole ton of sense, but it's normally in Arizona. But I still think that they're going to be trying to figure a ton out in week 3. There's just a lot of new pieces there. Kyler Murray is still only in his second year. Cliff Kingsbury is still only in his second year. And I know we were saying almost the exact same thing going into week 1 last year, saying it's Kyler and Cliff's first game. There's no way they can figure it out. And then we blew an 18-point lead in the fourth quarter. However, I just think this Lions team is a lot better than last year. I just think it's a lot better than they were. So I got the Cardinals going into Arizona, taking out Kyler Murray, taking out Nuke Hopkins, and winning that game.
I'm going to take this opportunity to plant my flag, something that I will continue to do as we go towards the season and as we talk about fantasy football on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm bought in on the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think that if you're playing fantasy football and you're not drafting Kyler Murray, that you're going to lose your league. Kyler Murray is going to be the best fantasy football quarterback this year next to Lamar Jackson. I think that, dude, watch for it, dude. Watch for it. He took a mediocre to average offense last year, like skill position-wise, and he still was a top 10 quarterback last year. Imagine what he's going to do with the third best receiver in football or whatever Nuke Hopkins is.
I think Kyler Murray's
getting open when the play breaks down, which happens a lot in Arizona because their offensive line sucks, and Kyler Murray is fast.
That's true. I think that they could compete for the playoffs. I agree with that. I don't feel comfortable putting Kyler Murray above Patty Mahomes in the fantasy football rankings.
Third best fantasy quarterback. You're right.
Third still seems like a little bit high to me, just because I know, to have that air raid offense, Cliff Kingsbury still likes to run the ball. They're still going to be doing a lot of that. But I think he'll be a top 7 or 8 fantasy quarterback for sure. And I think if you can get him, in a mid-round or even a little bit earlier than that.
Because I'm not going to be the only guy to go, hey, that's not going to be a very original.
I'll let you have – what round would you draft Kyler Murray in right now?
4th round. 3rd quarterback off the board. When does that happen? 4th round, 5th round? You're going to have to reach for him. 3rd round.
I don't think that's a reach. I think that's fair. Third round, it's pushing it a little bit. 4th and 5th round, I'd take him there.
But I also think, and this is going to conflict. This is turning into fantasy football corner. But
that's
I think you have to wait on a quarterback this year. As stupid as that sounds.
Dude, there's just so many good quarterbacks.
Wait. Dak Prescott's going to be awesome. Let's move on. I think the Lions lose this game because I love the Cardinals this year. I think they're going to be a revolutionary offense. And some people like Cliff Kingsbury, they just win, man. You live in a house like that, all his career, all he's been win. Some guys are just like that, man. And I don't like to fight destiny like that. The Lions, historically, a team that does not win.
And also does not fight destiny at all. It just lays down. It just takes it.
Week 4.
Week 4, the New Orleans Saints. What is it? The Drew Orleans Saints will be coming to Ford Field to take on Matthew Stafford and your Detroit Lions. This one, I don't even think we need to spend a ton of time on it. It's a loss.
All I have written is Drew Brees is hot shit early and mild shit late. And Drew Brees is he's awesome the first 12 weeks of the year. But the last couple of years, like clockwork, we've seen him kind of fall off down the stretch. And I think that that's going to happen again this year. He doesn't become less like himself as he ages.
Well, and not to mention this secondary is so new with Trufant and Okuda and Harmon. There's just so many new faces for week 4 to be going against an offense that has been together for 15. Yeah, Drew Brees has been there since 2006. Michael Thomas is going on year 5 now. This offense is going to go into the year with the same plan they go into every year with because it works. And I just don't think Patricia is going to be able to scheme enough against this one. So I'm going to take the well-oiled machine that is the New Orleans Saints.
Drew Brees on turf is unstoppable too, and that's what Ford Field is. So and you take away home field advantage again. I don't think we'll have fans in the stadium by week 4. There's just no way.
No way.
I think that's not even a home field advantage game. So I like the Saints too.
Yeah,
they're really good.
I would agree. Then an interesting conversation comes up in week 5, which once again is the Lions bye week. And I know we have the picture here.
Yeah, right.
That's going to kind of explain it. But this is the team's average bye weeks. And this is the bottom half of the league that you see in this picture. And surprise, surprise, the team who ranks 32nd out of 32 teams over the last 20 years, by the way, in average bye week is the Detroit Lions on average, week 6.5. I don't understand how something can be so consistently against you. And that's what the bye week is. And I'm not even saying the NFL is well, fuck it. It's the Lions. Just give them week 5. But boy, it kind of feels that way.
Well,
a little bit.
Yeah. And even last year when we had some national TV games, it wasn't it was that great. Although the reason why I don't know if I totally agree with this is if you look at the teams just above them, you've got Seattle and you've got Dallas and you've got Chicago and you've got Miami. Those are all big market teams. And now Miami sucks.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me, and you pointed that out to me, and it stood out to me too. Dallas, I think Jerry Jones has the ability to pretty much ask for a bye week. I really do. So I think he might just prefer a week 7 bye week.
Yeah.
But when you see Seattle, when you see Vegas, obviously Oakland, when you see Pittsburgh and Miami, those are some of the all-time franchises. So it kind of takes away from the argument, but it's just strange. And we just want to make sure everybody can see this and see, have it in their brain, because it is a very strange thing, especially when you start looking at the top teams and their average bye week is week 8, week 9. And it's well, that seems too big of a discrepancy between those. So just be aware of that and keep it in your brain for next year, because I'm going to start paying attention to this now that it's out.
Well, now that you've seen the pattern, you can't unsee the pattern.
Right, exactly. So that's all we got on the bye week. Going into this next part of the schedule, it could be a good thing that we got week 5, because we are coming up on the part of the schedule where, if you go into those games prepared, you're gonna win. And that starts with going to Jacksonville in week 6 to take on Gardner Minshew and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're just not going to be good. They might be the worst team in football next year. They're going to be in the tank for Trevor Crowd. This could be where the Lions secondary really puts it together. When Okudah really starts fitting in, when Trufant really knows what he's doing in the scheme. This is the game in the first 8 weeks of the season, believe it or not, that I'm the most excited for, because I think it could be where the team takes the steps. And it's not even because how good we have the potential to be. It's because how bad the Jags have the potential to be. You're going to be, with this man scheme, you're going to be forcing Minshew to make tight, hard throws the whole game. And I just don't think he can do it, especially against guys as athletic as what the Lions have in their secondary. So I have them taking a win here, week 6 against the Jags. That one's easy for me. Jags are tanking for Trevor.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
If you score more than 21 points on us, I think we need to go back to the drawing board a little bit here, because it's the closest thing that this Lions team has to like a good matchup.
Yep. So I have them at 3-2 after week 6. You have them. Okay, cool. And then week 7. This is a game that everybody I've been talking to is super split on. Some people are a lot higher on the Falcons than I am. We're traveling to Atlanta to take on Matt Ryan and the Falcons, who really, added some good talent this offseason. Obviously, they got Todd Gurley, Dante Fowler. So they've really added some great talent. But when we look at guys like Gurley, we can't remember, even though I know he's hurt, but knees don't just come back and get healthy again. And he averaged 3.8 yards per carry last year. He's not the elite running back he used to be. And sure, he could get a little bit of it back if he was like a 4.1, 4.2 yards per carry guy, and he's a top 12 running back in the league again. That's, there's the potential for that to happen. But he's not going to be a guy who's, the best running back in the league, who's winning you games week in and week out. I just don't see it that way. And if we're being honest about it, Matt Ryan hasn't been good. And he was okay 2 years ago, but he hasn't been really good in 3-4 years since the Super Bowl run, really.
I'd be curious to talk to people who are into the Falcons this year about why they think that, why this year is going to be different than any other year. They almost fired their coach 3 times last year. Like you said, Matt Ryan's not better. He's been getting worse. So you've got a quarterback on the back 9. You've got a coach who's probably going to get fired in week 8 this year. You've got, if they don't win early, they're toast. And another team where I think that the locker room might end up not looking super great. I think this is a win. I don't see any reason why the Falcons are going to be better than they were last year.
Yeah, and, when we were talking about the Bears, I give you hashtag Chase Daniels is a spy. Well, how about for the Falcons, hashtag Desmond Trufant is a spy. That guy is the guy who's been guarding Julio Jones in practice for 6 years. Yeah. Nobody knows how to guard Julio Jones better than Desmond Trufant. And not to mention, you have another guy who hopefully by week 7 is working his way into being a top level corner in the league. Obviously, year 1, I don't think he'll be top 10 or anything like that. But you have him to go get their lower level guys.
Yeah.
One more time.
I agree with you. Let's move on to week 8.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Technical difficulties again. All right, week 8. The Indians have
a call from the mothership. Okay.
Well, I was trying to receive the call. It just wasn't going through. So I got the win against the Falcons too. So we both got them at 4-2. Week 8, the Indianapolis Colts and the newly signed Phillip Rivers are coming to town. This is also the matchup of Jonathan Taylor versus DeAndre Swift, which I think will be very exciting. Kind of get the first glimpse at who won there with, we chose Swift. Obviously, they chose Taylor. But if I'm being honest about it, Phillip Rivers is coming off a 20-pick season, and he only threw, I think, 24 touchdowns. He hasn't played for a different team since 2000 in his whole career, but 2006 is when he started making starts for the Chargers. I think this is another pretty easy win. I think the Colts are going to be super, 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 super underwhelming this year, and I'm just not.
I like the Colts more than you do. To me, the Colts are the exact same team as the Lions in a lot of ways. Veteran gunslinger quarterback, young running backs, defenses with talent that haven't quite put it all together yet, but young first-time head coaches. I think that the difference in this game is the home field, is that 1.5. So I think the Colts are going to win this game. I think that the Lions and the Colts are in a similar place. I just think the Colts are a year ahead.
Yeah, well, the thing that I think brings the Colts back is just that you're going to have 39-year-old Phillip Rivers. Like, he's just not the same guy.
I believe in the rebirth of Phillip Rivers. I think he's got 2 years left in him.
2 years. That'd be pretty amazing, especially switching systems, switching schemes, getting into a new offense.
He's still got talent around.
That would be.
Phillip Rivers is I think a little underrated right now because he's 39, or that's what you said, right? He's 39. He's got
30. He'll be. I think he'll be almost 39 when the game.
I like Phillip Rivers to be a little better than people expect this year.
A little bit better, but again, he threw 20 picks last year, and again, the new scheme is the thing that I'm really interested to see because he's either going to take a huge step back or he's going to be pretty much the same guy. Week 9, we travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. I want to hear your thoughts on this one first.
This, to me, is like a real make-or-break week for the Lions. I think that we'll learn the most important game up so far is this game. At the Vikings, week 9, the Vikings have historically, in the last couple of years, just beat the shit out of us. I mean, really. That's really what they've done. But I think the Vikings are huge regression candidates, and I think Kirk Cousins is a better fantasy quarterback than a real quarterback. I think that there's no way that Dalvin Cook looks as good as he did last year. I think there's a 0% chance of that. And I think that it's a bad locker room, and I think that they're leaking players.
Yeah, I mean, you've lost Diggs, you've lost Xavier Rhodes, and obviously you've tried to replace Diggs with Justin Jefferson out of LSU, who I think is going to be really good, but, wide receivers, it normally takes at minimum a year, at the very minimum. You obviously still have Thielen, who's one of the best wide receivers in football, but I think you made a good point with Dalvin Cook. I don't think you can expect Dalvin Cook, 1, to stay healthy for an entire season again, and 2, to perform like he did. And I think a big part of that is going to be Diggs isn't there. So you pretty much can double Adam Thielen whenever you want now, which makes it a lot easier to just drop guys into the box and stop the run. If you're taking away their one true offensive weapon on the receiving side of things, then you can just load it up the box and stop the run. However,
I think that Thielen staying, Diggs going is a really encompassing. It really shows what that offense is because they lost the deep guy and they kept the slot guy.
Yep. And the best slot guy in the league, don't get it twisted. But now I have us losing to the Vikings here, and it's just because I don't see us beating the Vikings twice. I just couldn't talk myself into going to Minnesota and winning on the road. It just feels like one of those games. The Lions are going to find a way to lose. Cousins is going to do some dumb bullshit. And we're just going to find a way to lose that game. But, again, Vikings, huge regression candidates. If, a little bit goes wrong there, they could be a bottom 7 or 8 team in the league, and I really believe that. The loss of Diggs is huge. The loss of Xavier Rhodes, that's the vet on that defense. That's the vet. That's their guy. So I got a loss there, and that pushes the Lions to 5-3 on my board.
Well, the next one is the Redskins.
Yeah. The Redskins suck. I mean, Haskins isn't even close to a franchise quarterback. They got a pretty good D-line now that's the one thing I'm a little bit worried about, making sure our offense can handle it. Obviously coming with Chase Young. That could probably be a top 10 D-line in football next year, but I still think this should be either the easiest or the second easiest win of your season behind the Jags.
Is Trent Williams gone? I haven't seen a headline.
I don't know if he's traded yet. I don't think he was traded yet. No,
that's a fucking.
But he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there come the season.
Let me ask you: who's the worst franchise of the last 10 years? Us or the Redskins? The Lions or the Redskins?
Of the last how many years?
10.
The Redskins. The Redskins. We've made the playoffs twice. Obviously, the first time it was young Stafford, and we got taken out by an awesome Saints team. And the second time we got screwed by the refs on the picking up the pass interference call. The Redskins had like a year with RG3. They were okay with Alex Smith for a year, but it's just that franchise has done nothing, and they will continue to do nothing as long as their owner continues to do the same things he's doing, and Snyder just continues to lose his mind every time anybody wants to make any change. I think that franchise is more of a mess than we are by like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
So that would push us to 6-3, though. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
If the Lions are 6-3, 9 games into the season, do you buy in, or is there still a part in the back of your brain that says, "Ooh, same old Lions. We've seen this before. Stafford had to win 1 game a few years ago out of the last 4 to win the division. He couldn't do it. He's never won a big game. Patricia sucks. People don't like Quinn." Is that all gonna? I almost feel like that'll creep into my mind the more we win, rather than the more we lose.
It sounds like you're already there. Honestly, it sounds like you're preparing yourself for heartbreak.
This is what I do. I'm thinking about it right now, right? When this schedule first came out, I had them winning 7 games. Right now, we're doing the schedule, and I have them at 6 wins after 10 weeks. So I've bought in. When I've gone over everything, I've bought in. We've improved the D-line. We've probably improved the O-line. We've improved the secondary. We've improved the running game. Our receivers are fine just the way they are. Hawk is going to take a step. This team has a lot of potential. But, God, having them at 6-3 after 10 weeks just kind of scares the shit out of me.
The front half of their schedule, I think they play some weaker teams, right? I mean, the Bears and the Jags and the Falcons, I think, are going to be bad.
Yeah, and I think when the schedule first came out and you looked at it, it was a lot scarier than it was after you started breaking it down and thinking about everything. Because, even after the Redskins, guess what you get to do? You get to travel to Carolina and play the Cam Newton-less, Luke Kuechly-less Panthers and try to steal a win on the road there, which is entirely possible. Again, a team that could be one of the worst teams in the NFL. If McCaffrey misses 8 weeks, they're going to lose all 8 of those games. Yeah. The one thing with them I'm really excited to see and interested to see is Teddy Bridgewater finally, for the first time since his injury, gets a chance to be a full-time quarterback. How do you think he's going to be? Do you think he's a top-level QB, or do you think he'll just kind of slot right in the middle, right near that Andy Dalton line?
I think that in the first year, as he kind of, adjusts again to being a full-time quarterback. He was in New Orleans, but it's not the same thing. I think he's going to be just a touch above the Andy Dalton line. Just a touch above it. Close.
Yeah, and that first year with the Vikings before his injury, I was bought in on Teddy Bridgewater. I thought he was going to be a franchise quarterback, but when you go 5 years since then, 6 years since then, and you're not a starter the entire time, you got to lose some of what you had. You have to. You're not getting the game experience. Some of that's going to go. So I have us beating the Panthers, going to 7-3. That's right, folks. 7-3 after 10 games. Would you got them winning, losing, tie,
I have them winning.
overtime?
I agree. The Panthers are going to be bad to mediocre this year. They've got some players, but I think that they're kind of refinding themselves. I think that this is kind of a rebuild on the fly. Panthers win 6 games. Not a big deal. We're taking a year. No more Cam Newton. So we'll see.
It's the old Al Avila line. They're not rebuilding, they're rebooting.
Ooh, I like that.
So a year, maybe 2 away. I think Matt Rule is going to be a really good coach. He's known as a culture builder, as a player's coach. Guys want to play for him. That's sometimes hard to translate into the NFL, obviously, with guys making millions and millions of dollars. But I still, I just don't think this team, I think the ceiling for this team is 8-8, this Panthers team. So I got to win there.
Yeah.
Week 12. So it's story time, folks.
Oh, God.
Week 12, Thanksgiving Day game. The Houston Texans, the Nuke Hopkins-less Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson will be coming to Ford Field for the annual Thanksgiving Day game. And if you don't remember what happened last time, let me tell you. So it was late in the game. Justin Forsett was carrying the ball. Justin Forsett was not tackled, but he was down, knee to the ground. But the refs never blew the whistle. Very reminiscent to that play in the Chiefs game last year, if you remember that. The refs never blew the whistle, so Justin Forsett hops right up, runs 81 yards down the field for a touchdown, took the lead late in the Thanksgiving Day game. But Jim Schwartz, the coach at the time, saw and was told via his headset that his knee was down. So what did Schwartz decide to do? Schwartz says, I'm going to challenge it. We'll get the play called back. We're going to win this game. Everything's great. Schwartz throws his red challenge flag. And here is where the NFL decided to enforce, and we have a few of these, but maybe its stupidest rule out of all of them, which is this play was automatically going to be reviewed because it was a touchdown. All scoring plays are reviewed since that season. But since Schwartz threw the challenge flag, they were no longer allowed to review it, and we lost a timeout. One of the most ridiculous rules in anything I've ever heard in my life. It makes zero sense. It's right up there with complete the process. It's right up there with a 10-second runoff when the refs have to do a review, which screws you out of a game on the 1-yard line. It's just, how do we find a way to consistently get in these positions where some old stupid rule that's never enforced is going to haunt us? And I know it's not just one of those things where we only notice it because we're Lions fans, because there's no fucking way we only notice it because we're Lions fans. It's 3 times a season. It's 3 times a season, dude. This one just broke my heart. Like, I remember watching this in my living room, like 15, 16 years old. And he just pops up and runs down the field. And as soon as I saw him start running, I knew it was going to be a touchdown, regardless of what else happened. I knew it was going to be a touchdown because we're the Detroit Lions, and that's what happens. The reason I tell you this story is because I think the ghost of Jim Schwartz and the ghost of 2012 will haunt you on Thanksgiving Day. Deshaun Watson is going to prove this season that he is one of the best quarterbacks in football. He doesn't need Nuke Hopkins. And the Texans are going to come in here and steal one from us.
Okay. First of all, he definitely needs Nuke Hopkins. Every quarterback needs Nuke Hopkins, but not every quarterback has Nuke Hopkins. I think that the Lions are going to – this is the game I'm the least sure about on the whole schedule. And the reason why is because the Texans are the most injured team in the league every year. And so the question becomes is how banged up are they this year? Is J.J. Watt hurt yet? Is Deshaun Watson banged up yet? Is David Johnson injured yet? Is their best corner, Bradley Roby, who missed 8 weeks last year, 6 weeks the year before, is that guy playing? It depends for me how healthy the Texans are. Full-strength Texans, I think that team wins, even though it's home, even though it's Thanksgiving. But in my opinion, by the time Week 12 rolls around, they're going to be missing a couple. They're going to be missing a couple of players. But I don't know, man. I mean, the thing about the Texans is nobody knows whether they're a well-run team or a poorly-run team. They're certainly the worst trading team in the NFL. But how much does that mean? It's a good question. Hey, buddy.
Well, you gotta love modern technology. You got to.
There isn't a single tech in my entire apartment that has worked 100% completely correct the entire time.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Back on the Texans, the one other thing that I'm kind of hoping for to see from that team this year, and I don't think we're going to, but I really hope we do, is the revitalization of David Johnson. Mm-hmm. This guy was one of the best running backs in football. Broke his wrist. You would think breaking your wrist, whatever you're running back, that's just the downfall of Dave Johnson hasn't gotten better since then. I'm really, really hoping the idiot that Bill Brown is and find a way to make it work.
I agree that David Johnson is going to be kind of underrated. I think that, speaking again about fantasy, if you can pick up David Johnson in the second round, that's probably going to be some pretty good value. He's going to be maybe not a 1A back, but a 1B back, or he might have a 1B back, but he's the 1A back. I think he's the guy on that team. So I guess we'll find out about the Texans. I think that there's a lot in the air. I'm going to move on to Week 13. I think what's going to happen here is Andrew and I are going to finish up the schedule, and then he's making a nasty face. We're going to finish up the schedule, and then I'm going to probably real quick run through the Bundesliga being back, and then I think we might just take off because we're just getting our asses kicked by Comcast.
We're trying for you guys. We are trying, but this internet connection is just ruthless right now. It doesn't care about the show at all, which I think is pretty rude. But you can't really have a conversation with internet connection.
Probably you could cancel the internet.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into the playoff run. The final 4 weeks of the season. I have the Lions going into this at 7-4. I think you have them at 8-5 or 7-4.
I have them at 8-3 right now, going into week 13 at the Bears.
Or 8-3. Cool. So week 13, we go to Chicago. I'm just going to keep this sweet and simple. It's a win. And if you remember what I told you last time, it's the same reason. The Bears suck. Mitch Trubisky sucks. According to Parker, Nick Foles sucks, so it doesn't really matter. But I just think the Lions are...
I don't think he's that far above the Andy Dalton line. I don't think he's that much further up than what Cam Newton was going to be this year.
I mean, I'm not...
I mean, what else do you even want to do about this? I'm just going to close you out again.
I think better.
Ultimately, the thing about the Bears is that the Bears are bad. The Bears are not good. The Bears are going to be a bad team this year. But the Lions are the most inconsistent team in the NFL maybe ever in the last 7 years. So I'm actually going to say that the Bears are going to win this game. I think that the Bears pull a dumb win right out of their ass, and we're going to be at 8-4. I think that this home stretch here coming up is probably the hardest part of the schedule. It's a bunch of divisional teams, and I think that we split with a division every year. So I think the Bears are going to pull a stupid win out of their ass in Soldier Field.
I can go with that. So right now, I mean, if you're 8-4, you're looking at you have to explode to not make the playoffs, right?
Kind of.
Like if you are 8-4 and you're going into week 14, you have the Packers, Titans, Bucks, and Vikings left. It's basically going to have to be a complete shit show for you not to make the playoffs.
Hey, you're getting worse, not better. Do a long reboot. I'm gonna talk for.
I actually don't know if you guys can hear me right now, but
you're right. You are right that we do not know if we can hear you. This is gonna be a really fun, interesting vibe.
Rodgers will never in this, but this win. Have you been able to hear me at all?
I've been cutting you off because you're kind of sounding like a robot, and you're coming in for 2 seconds, and then you're freezing to a level that I don't understand.
Just take the Packers. Just do the Packers. Just
the Packers at week 14.
Yep.
What I have written down is, oh shit, here he comes. This is when Aaron Rodgers eats. This is the peak Aaron Rodgers time of the year. It's week 14. The Packers are 7-6, and everybody is talking about whether or not this is the end of Aaron Rodgers' career. People are going to start thinking about, hey, is Jordan Love any good? And then here comes Aaron Rodgers. He's going to throw for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's going to make us look real stupid. This is, in my opinion, the most locked loss of the season. There's no way that week 14 against the Packers that this is going to be good.
I'm going to disagree because I don't think Aaron Rodgers will ever beat Matthew Stafford twice in the same season ever again. Never again will it happen. I'm sure of it. I mean, we've seen Stafford just not allow it to happen for every year besides last year. We've seen Stafford just not allow it to happen for the last half a decade. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of got his number. I think Stafford is the one guy that at least kind of scares Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't scare him, but he thinks about him the night before the game. He's a little bit worried going into it. So I have us beating the Packers.
So I have
in week 14.
I have them winning in week 2 or whatever, and then losing in week 14. So we're both split in the Packers.
Yep.
Week 15,
Yep.
We've got the Titans. Do you have a lot of thoughts on the Titans? I have a lot of thoughts about the Titans.
You go first because we don't know if I'll cut out.
Okay. The Titans are, I think, the biggest lock this year to have like a Super Bowl hangover type season. I think they're going to take a step back. I think that teams are going to be able to game plan against Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think the receivers are good enough. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be the same player that he was for 8 weeks 2 years ago and then 6 weeks last year. I think that they're going to be kind of riding high, and I think that they're going to lose. But this is, again, for me, I'm talking about the Lions right now. So I actually think they lose to the Titans, but that the Titans go 8-8, and we look back on it as the ultimate, like, wow, what if we won that game?
I have literally almost the exact same thing written down. I have Tannehill's going to take a step back. He's not some stud quarterback, guys. He's not. We've seen it for a long time. He's average. There's that Andy Dalton line, which for those of you who are new to the show, the Andy Dalton line is the line of an average NFL quarterback. It was created a couple years ago when he was closer to average. Yeah. I think Tannehill is below that line. He had the best 8-week stretch of his career last year. That's fine. It was also accompanied by the greatest 8-week stretch yardage-wise that we've ever seen from a running back. And I'm sorry, Derrick Henry's good. Derrick Henry's really good. He's not going to be going for like 1,700 yards next year. He's not going to be going even for probably 1,500 yards next year. Like he's not an all-time running back who's going to be this consistent monster week in and week out for years. You're probably going to get a 4-year stretch where he's close to that same guy, or a 4-week stretch where he's close to that same guy. But him, Tannehill, like that's just not elite enough to be elite again. But I have them losing the game. It's one of those games where the Lions are going to figure out how to lose it. It's late in the season. It's an iffy game with a toss-up, and I think they lose it. I think they're going to be looking forward to the next week too early, and they'll lose this game.
I think that the Titans are going to need this game to make the playoffs. They're going to need it. They have to have it. So and it's going to be in Tennessee, and you add the extra point and a half. This to me is just some classic. Oh man, I just realized looking at week 6. Let's move into week 16. Let's just kind of get through this here. Week 16 is against the Bucks, and I'm fucking scared as hell of the Bucks. They scary. They spooky.
Yeah. Another thing, see, dude, I feel like once a show we have something that you and I agree on that nobody else in the world agrees on. And I'd say like 70% of NFL fans right now are saying the Bucks are not going to be good. They're just not. Tom Brady's 44, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I get he's old. I get it.
Every time I hear it, like.
But like this offense, Godwin, Evans, I don't care if Gronk took a year and a half off. He's an alien. Like, I don't care. This offense is going to be amazing. I'm fully expecting Antonio Brown to follow Tom Brady to Tampa 2. Just add to that offense. Shout out Tampa 2 defense. The defense is going to be average, but guess what? That's all you need with Tom Brady. All you need is an average defense. They're going to come in here and they're going to kick our ass in week 16. I mean, just dismantle us. Tom Brady knows everything there is to know about Patricia.
Yeah. I think that the thing about it is that Patricia also knows Tom Brady, which we saw last year when they played the Patriots and they won.
That's true.
I mean, they really played the game the right way. They didn't let Tom on the field. And I mean, that strategy could still work. But the other thing about Gronk is that the tight ends behind Gronk on that depth chart are also good.
Yeah, OJ Howard's there. I mean,
great second tight end.
One reason I think people just really underrate this Bucks team is because they're like, Tom Brady hasn't been that good the last 2 years. Well, yeah, he was throwing to Edelman, and then he was throwing to people who were as athletic as I am. Like, there was nothing in that offense. Sony Michel sucks. The running backs suck in New England. Bill Belichick does everything he can with those guys, but they're not good players. And that's been the case with the offense for the last 2 or 3 years. Tom Brady didn't let the Patriots down over the last couple of years. The Patriots let Tom Brady down. And that's why he's in Tampa, and that's why that team's going to go win 11 to 12 games next year.
Julian Edelman, over or under 50 receptions this year?
Over. I still think he's a really good wide receiver. Yeah, I'm going to go over.
What we're going to find out is that Julian Edelman is not the same guy when Tom Brady's throwing to him. His age is
People are buying in on Stidham. People are all the way bought in on Stidham, like all the way, it seems like. And that's cool. I think he's going to be an interesting watch, but
yeah,
it's the getting excited because it's a Patriots quarterback. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots won 9 games next year. I don't think they're going to compete in the playoffs, but
I'm not drafting Stidham in fantasy football. There's no way.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell, I don't even draft Brady in fantasy football. I would this year because he's on the Bucks, but typically I don't.
So I have the Lions at 8-7 right now. What do you have the Lions at?
9-6.
Cool. Last game, week 17 against the Vikings.
It's a win, dude. It's a win. They're splitting with the Vikings. That's a win. We're going to be into late season Kirk Cousins. Who knows if Dalvin Cook will be there in week 17? And I know we don't like to predict injuries because I think that's a weak argument. But when it's a guy who's as injured as Dalvin Cook, I think you're just lying to yourself if you don't at least kind of into the equation. So I just think we're the better team than the Vikings this year. And when they come to Ford Field, hopefully there's going to be fans by week 17, although I still actually kind of doubt it. I think we'll just see a full season, no fans all the way through the Super Bowl. But we're going to win this week 17 game. And ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Norris, your host, I have the Detroit Football Lions going to the playoffs. Yes, I said it. You heard it here first. The Detroit Football Lions will be in the NFL playoffs, and I'm not stopping there. They're going to win a game. They're going to win a game in the playoffs.
If they make the playoffs, they're going to be playing whoever the best team or the second best team in the NFC is. So you think they could beat the Saints in the playoffs?
Yeah, Drew Brees sucks in the playoffs outside of 1 year. So real quick, I guess let's talk about this. What do you think the Packers' record will be this year? Not without looking at their schedule, just whatever.
Packers win.
Can they win
this year like they do every year?
So, I mean, it really could, if the season goes similar to this, it could all come down to that Week 14 game. Because if you can beat the Packers in Week 14 and win the division, your home field advantage.
Sure,
and
that'd be great.
Could you imagine? Oh my goodness. We haven't had a home playoff game here since the 90s, and we're going to get it, and there's not going to be any fans allowed in the stadium.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Holy crap. That's fucking weird, dude. That's very...
Dude, and now you can't even argue against the Lions going to the playoffs.
Put the Detroit PD around the outside of the building to keep people from me and you standing outside of it watching from the screen on Ford Field.
Yeah. Oh, dude, we'll go on the roofs of one of those super tall buildings downtown, and we'll just hang our feet off the edge. And never mind, Ford Field has a roof. Never mind, that's a dumb idea. So you have the win against the Vikings in Week 17.
I do have the win against the Vikings in Week 17. So I am going
9-7 good enough
in the playoffs and losing the first round. But even still, in my opinion, that's a triumph.
Yeah, I would agree. And it'll be heartbreaking to see another playoff loss. Don't get it twisted.
I'll be fine. I'll watch a playoff loss.
The worst part will be all the naysayers of Stafford afterwards. He's never won a big game. Whatever. If this team makes the playoffs, exceeding expectations this year. So yeah, you heard it here first. We're 2 for 2, folks. Your Lions, Fan2Fan Detroit homers, both have them going to the playoffs.
That's assuming that 9-7 makes the playoffs on my end. The NFC is
normally does.
I think last year it was 2-2 and 10-6 teams that made the playoffs last year. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean
the Cowboys and the Eagles division is going to be shitty, so that's a win there. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's all going to depend on the West. It's all going to depend on the Cardinals and the Seahawks and the Niners. Whatever. If the lowest one of those teams has 9 wins still, the 9-7 probably doesn't make the playoffs.
So you and I both have the Lions doing, in my opinion, just barely enough to not get Patricia and Quinn fired.
Yeah, for sure. I think I pretty much think you have to make the playoffs because this fan base just isn't going to allow those guys to stay if you're not in the playoffs. Even if you're 9-7 and don't make the playoffs, I think they get fired because this fan base will riot, and rightfully so. We deserve a playoff team. We've been spending the last half decade building this playoff team around Stafford, and we haven't now. And this is coming from a guy. Matthew Stafford is one of my favorite athletes that I've ever watched anywhere. But if he is healthy this year, if the team is semi-healthy and they don't win any more than 6-7 games, it's probably time to pull the plug.
if they're not like at least in playoff contention, then that's an automatic one for me.
Yeah. All right, Parker. Well, that is the Lions schedule.
Yeah, I'm gonna buzz through soccer real quick.
Yes, do your thing.
Happening this weekend. Saturday, the Bundesliga is back. That's German soccer. For people who aren't initiated, you can watch it at 14:30 BST, whenever that might be. It's on FSN. If you have any of the FSN channels, I believe Fox has the rights for it. There are probably going to be 3 or 4 Americans playing for sure. The game you're going to want to watch is going to be Dortmund versus Schalke, and that's going to be U.S. men's national team mainstay Weston McKennie. And I think you might see a little cameo by 17-year-old Gio Reyna for Dortmund. I think that's likely. The Bundesliga is going to be playing with 5 subs instead of 3. No fans in the stadium. Tyler Adams plays for RB Leipzig versus Freiburg, which doesn't have any Americans on it yet. It has some like younger, like 16, 17-year-olds that haven't cracked through yet. And then John Brooks and Wolfsburg versus Augsburg is later on, I believe. And there's a potential Uli Linus signing. We might see Ulysses Linus make his first start with 5 subs. Not start.
Do you know where we can watch these games on TV? Like, do you know?
FS Fox Sports Detroit will probably have it, but any of the FSN networks have them. ESPN can like do a little like language like country moving, is broadcasting it in like Spain or something or whatever. The broadcast stuff's kind of weird, but the Fox Sports has the rights to the Bundesliga for now. I think ESPN has them all next year.
Oh, ESPN got the Bundesliga rights?
Yeah, I don't think that costs them a whole bunch of money though.
Yeah, but they're gonna make it awesome. Hopefully. They're gonna make it awesome. That excites me.
Fox Sports Soccer Desk is really good. They're solid.
I know, but it just feels, I don't know what it is, but anything that's on like Fox Sports always feels cheap to me. Unless it's like a Tigers, Pistons, or Red Wings game, it feels cheap to me always. I don't know what that is, but
that mothership in Hartford for ESPN is, I mean, it's the highest, biggest, mostest whatever broadcast studio practically in the country. I mean, that thing is incredible, the photos and all the stuff that they have. So it makes sense.
Worldwide leaders.
Do it better. What?
Worldwide leader in sports.
Yeah, right.
The Fan2Fan Detroit podcast.
So I guess yeah, right. Thank you for throwing that. If you want to watch like a stomp on Monday, Union Berlin is going to get the shit kicked out of them by Bayern Munich, which might just be fun. You can watch a bunch of, it'll have some goals in it, you know.
And if you were wondering, that game is at 1700 BST time.
Yeah. So
which I think
we're not only are we going to give it to you in Berlin Standard Time, it's in military time. So
I think that's 5 o'clock in Berlin.
What?
I think that's 5 o'clock in Berlin, which would make it like what, 7 in the morning here?
17:30 is 5:30. It's 5:30 p.m. But I don't know. We really, I mean, this is just lazy podcasting. We really could have Googled it, but I won't.
No, it's a principle thing at this point. It's a principle thing for sure. What is the deal? Just since we're talking about soccer, real quick. Premier League, is it coming back? La Liga, is it coming back?
Yeah, if the Premier League is coming back, because they like kind of laid out a plan. And then a bunch of famous players were not super enthused about it. I know Britain is like still kind of in the throes of all this shit, much as we are. I think they have like a June 15th target date for return, but we'll have to see. I mean, we'll have to see. It's like you're better off like reading your horoscope and using that to try to figure out a sport for coming back.
Cool. So, well, we got some young players. No Christian Pulisic, nothing like that. But there is some good young players that are going to be playing over in Germany from the United States. So it should be exciting. Anything else on soccer?
Nah. If you, it might be fun. It might not be. We'll have to see if the games are any good. Well, this is going to be a great test case for like whether or not any other sports can open. So if you're a sports fan, I would
root for it.
I would really pay attention to like the next couple of days immediately afterwards. It's going to be,
yeah, for sure.
Available if you're the kind of person who likes to go to websites like reddit.com/TV streams. It'll be available maybe potentially on there. I've heard things like that, but I've heard that people watch games that way. So
That's what I've heard. I've never tried it, but that's what I've heard.
I would never say that. I'm always very politically correct, but people
always
said that.
The last thing I want to tell everybody before we head off air here, we're going to get you the Tigers stuff next week. I promise. It's just this internet connection is just not quite there. But from Chris Haynes, he says Yahoo sources: NBA superstars LeBron James, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Steph Curry held private conference call on Monday and established united front in favor of resuming the season. So basically the Avengers got together, they went to the NBA, and they were like, hey guys, we need to see who's going to win this title. If it goes well in Germany, because like you said, I think that's going to be the basis of which they do everything else in the sports world, that we will see an NBA playoffs this year. I'm praying for it. I'm hoping for it. It's coming. We're going to see it. And it might not be 7-game series, but we're going to see it.
Honestly, as a sports fan, I don't really know how to feel about sports being back right now, because on the one hand, I want sports again. But on the other hand, I don't want thousands of people to die. And so, like, that seems easy and obvious, but
the thing that sways me is if the players want to play, if they want to make that decision, and we're fanless arenas, and we're keeping the groups of people. It's easier in the NBA where you have a 14 to 15 man roster, a few coaches, yada yada, and you maybe need 60 guys in the arena, maybe. I think it's the easiest there.
Because it's not about the players. It's about the other people in those cities, the healthcare workers in those cities, the people who are around the stadiums, the people who are employed by the stadiums who make $12 an hour. It's those people that I'm nervous about,
No, I understand that, and I'm with you on that. I agree with that wholeheartedly, which is why I think the way to do it is you lock them in Las Vegas. Like you keep it to one city. You don't. Hey, the governor, she wants to be the test group. She said she wanted to be the test group because she's psycho. But anyways, we're gonna end the show because this Wi-Fi connection is killing me. I promise you we will get you the Tiger stuff next week. I promise you the connection will be better. If you're still here, you're a trooper. We appreciate you. Leave a comment so we can tell you that we love you, because this, like I said, this internet's been rough, but this is Fan2Fan Detroit. That's Double P, producer Parker. I'm your host, Andrew Norris. Is there anything else, man?
We've got the fun. I'm going to do one thing real quick. I'm also working on a show right now called Sandwich Talk, which is hosted by Detroit's own Carlos Parisi, who is like a very classic Anthony Bourdain type. One of the greatest guys I know, one of the greatest podcast hosts I know, who has like really fun, like art people who cook on all the time. It's a cool show. Check it out. It's also on the Planet Podcast Network / whatever this like video segment of the podcast network is. And last but not least, we've got instead of the fun sports clip of the week this week, we have the fun Sekou Doumbouya clip of the week. Woohoo, Sekou season.